video 3 of the roadway culvert exercise. And in this video, we will discuss how to modify and review your drainage elements that you have out there, and also using the trenching option inside of OpenRoads Designer to possibly get some class 3 excavation for those drainage structures that you have out there. So the first thing that we will discuss is how to possibly move some drainage elements that are out there. Now, in order to move drainage elements, what you need to do is come up to your element selection tool. Let's say we need to move this flared in section. Select it, and then you're going to see this point right here. That is the only way that you can move a drainage element. You can't go up there and use the microstation tool and try to move that particular element. It will not work. So if I need to move it, grab it by that point right there, and then I can move it to whichever spot that I need to move it to. Now, once it's been moved, of course, you may need to come in here for like your flared in sections. You will probably need to rotate those also. And we've kind of discussed that in a previous video, but just to kind of review it again, all we need to do is left click on the structure. You see these little arrows right here. Grab that. And then what I will do is just simply zoom up to this other end right here and snap to this other flared in section. And now it should be rotated correctly, as you can see right there. So that's what you need to do to move and also rotate a flared in section or a drainage element that's out there. And you could possibly use the civil AccuDraw to move it with a little bit more precision, maybe at a certain station and offset, but that's what you need to do for those drainage elements. Like I said, you can't use the microstation tools to move, rotate, and so forth with those elements. Let me go ahead and do a couple undos to bring that back to what it was before. Next thing we will discuss is how to change a flared in section or an inlet or possibly the conduits that are out there. So let's say this pipe right here, let's say it's a 60-inch pipe right now, but I need to change it to a 84-inch pipe. Well, to do that, we would come in here and select it and get to the dynamic toolbar, and we can get to the physical properties of it and also the utility properties of it, which would be the hydraulic properties of it. So if we go to properties, you're going to see all the properties that you can look at inside of here, and the stuff that's in black and white are things that you can change if you need to. So let's say we need to change this from a 60-inch pipe to a 84-inch pipe. You would come in here, select it, click on the down arrow, find the pipe that you want to change it to, and go ahead and change it. Now, in this particular version, it does not update correctly. And you'll see that the size of the pipe visually is still the same. And if I come in here and I go to the properties of it again, it does say it's an 84-inch pipe. Or if I go to the utility properties of it, and I scroll down through here, it does say it's an 84-inch pipe, but it's not updating correctly. So for a conduit or a pipe, if you need to change it, just come into your drainage properties, go to the physical section of it, go to size, and then change it to whatever size that you need it to be. So I'll just change it to 78, and then I'll just go ahead and change it to what I want it to be, which would be 84. And you'll see that it's updating properly. And for the conduit description, it does say it's 84-inch pipe. So we're good to go there, along with this diameter right here. And just to verify that, let me go ahead and select it again, get to the actual properties of it, and see if that updated, which it did. So that's something that you would need to do in this particular version. Hopefully they will change that in the next version, but that's the way it's set right now. Same thing for your flared in section right here. Since we changed it to an 84-inch pipe, let's go ahead and change our flared in section also. So I will select it, get to the properties of it, and in here, like I said, there's a lot of stuff that you can review, stuff that you can change inside of here depending on what you need for your particular situation. So like this one right here, it says match the slope of the conduit. Right now it's set to false. I probably want that to match the slope of the conduit. That way there's no kink between the pipe and the flared in section. So I'd come in here and I'd change that to a true statement. And then of course the size that I want, I change it to an 84-inch pipe. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change that. FES 84C. And you'll see it's updated properly. So that's just some stuff that you can change inside of here if you need to change the size of the pipe or change the size of the conduit and so forth. So these are the physical properties of it. And then also you can check your utility properties or your drainage properties of it also. And just to review on the conduit again, let me go back to the utility properties of it. There may be a few things that you want to check for your properties of it. Like for the design portion of it, do you want it to be designed? Which right now it's set to true for the design conduit, the start invert, and the stop invert. Right now those are set to true, so if you run a design scenario and you compute stuff, it's going to size that pipe up or down according to your default design constraints and possibly change the start invert and stop invert of it. Well, if for some reason you don't want that and you want it to stay exactly where you put it at, just come in here and set that to false. And then if you try to do a design scenario for the computations of it, that particular pipe or that flared end section will not adjust. Now, thing that you probably want to review going down through here is the physical portion of it. Is culvert. If it is a culvert, like for this situation here, you'd set that to true. If it wasn't, like if you're in a stormwater drainage system, then it would be set to false. And that's what it is set by default. So if it is a culvert, you need to come in here and make sure that's set to true. And then for your upstream and downstream headwall definitions, you'd come in here and either use the start node or the stop node, depending if that's set correctly, which it should be. If for some reason that's not set correctly, then you could come in here and just use the conduit, and then you'd come in here and put in whatever KE value that it needs for that water to properly go through that pipe. And you can see these culvert inlet coefficients going down through there. But that should be set with the actual node for that. So normally we just have everybody come in here and set that to either the start node or the stop node. So that's just a few things that you'd want to review for your conduits. Another one to keep in mind for the conduits is if I go back to the utility properties of it, and I scroll back up here to the top, you have this node reversal. So if for some reason you place that pipe in there incorrectly, you can actually reverse the flow of how that water is going through there. Whenever you put the conduit in, you want to place it in the direction of flow. That way the program knows that the water is going from this point to the next point. Well, if you did that incorrectly, the program thinks the water is going in the reverse direction. So instead of coming in here and putting in a new pipe, which you can do, or you can come in here, select it, and just reverse the start and stop node. Now, changing the size of the pipe or changing the flared end section size of it, going through the properties of it, that works pretty good going through the properties. But if you're coming in there and changing it to totally something different, maybe instead of it being a concrete pipe, you're changing it to a metal pipe, or you're putting in some other type of end section in there. If you're doing that, it'd probably be a little bit better to come in there and simply delete out what you have and put in a new one. Because if you start modifying a lot of stuff, drainage could possibly get confused on certain things with it. So making minor changes like what we did there works good. But like I said, if you're making a major change to it, like putting in something totally different, then it's best to come in there and just delete it and put in your new structure as you desire. Another thing that we will review is your drainage area. So if we select it and we can get to the properties of it, and you can see some of the properties for that depending on what you have it named and so forth. Or if you want to go to the utility properties of it, you can scroll down through there and fill out some of the properties for it. Like what we have for this example here, we put in the runoff coefficient and average of that area. That way the water is getting to that inlet properly. And then also you need to put in your time of concentration of how long it takes for that longest point for that water to get to that inlet. That's a couple things that you need to review for your catchment areas. The last thing that we will discuss is the trenching option. Now, this is something optional that you can use for figuring out how much excavation is going through there, and we will show that using that trenching option. First thing that you need to do is make sure you have a profile assigned to it, which we do, but just to double check, let me go ahead and select it, get to the dynamic toolbar, go to the open profile model, and I'll open up view number 8, click inside of it, and I know there's a profile assigned to it. And then I will do the same thing to this side over here. Now the program knows that there's a profile assigned to it. So if I want to figure out my class 3 excavation through here, I would come in here and turn the trenching option on. So select it, get to the properties of it, and right here you have this create trench. Set that to true. And basically what you should see now is a corridor going through that pipe, like what we see right here. And I can do the same thing to this 84-inch pipe over here. Set that to true. And now you see that corridor that's associated to that pipe. Now what we need to do is edit the template drop. That way we can come in here and get the proper width from the center of that pipe going outward. So to do that, what I'm going to do is show you a Excel file that we have set up to easily calculate what that number should be. So underneath the R drive, CAD, drainage, drainage files, you have this option right here that says trench templates. You can open it up. We will see a section for the circular concrete trench template. And we'll scroll down through here and we'll find the one that says 84-inch, which is this one right here. And right here is that B width, which would be the whole entire width of that trench. Well, the number that we are wanting is this number right here that says 5.56. That will go from the center of the pipe to that outer edge. And you'll see what I'm talking about here in a second. So 5.56, that's the number that we need. And let me go back to here and get to where I can edit that template drop. So I will select this right here where it says template drop. Get to that dynamic toolbar and go to the edit template drop. And then from here, you got your different templates depending on what type of ditch that you're putting in for that particular box culvert or circular structure, or depending on what situation that you got. So for this one right here, we have the excavation for the RCP pipe, which that's what it's set to. And then what we need to do is come in here and edit a couple points. We need to edit this left excavation bottom point and the right excavation bottom point. And you can see here it's going from the center of it. You see how it's set to 2 right now for both sides. So if I double left click on that point, I need to come in here and change the value from -2 to -5.56. And then I will go ahead and apply it. Close that down and do the same thing on the right excavation point. Close it, zoom back out, and now you can see that point is set to the correct spot. So go ahead and click on OK, and now you'll see your template updated accordingly. So now we have the correct excavation limits for that. And I can do the same thing to the box, but hopefully you get the idea of how this works. So now if we come in here and we hit F6 to see it in the 3D window, let me go ahead and rotate it. I'll just rotate it from this point right here. You're going to see those excavation limits underneath there. So it sees that width, and then it shoots back up to where it hits ground. And if for some reason you want to see it going through that particular terrain, what I can do is come in here, make sure view number 2 is active, go to my references because that terrain file is referenced in. I will make that terrain model a transparency of 90. and then go to my view attributes to turn it on. Now you can see those excavation limits going through there. Okay, so let me go ahead and close this down. Now if we want to see the actual excavation for that pipe, what we need to do is come up and get to our component quantities, which is underneath the report ribbon. Go to corridor reports and go to component quantities. Now you come in here and you select your corridor, and now you'll see how much cut volume is going on through that pipe whenever it's being placed from that existing ground line. Let me go ahead and close that down. Go ahead and hit F4 to clear that out. So that's the conclusion of the part 3 video. We kind of went over reviewing a few things with your drainage elements, modifying a couple things, a few things that you need to look at, review, and so forth with that, along with using the trenching options to possibly get some quantities from that. So hopefully those 3 videos that are provided for the roadway culvert exercise is helpful. Now we didn't go over every single situation that you may encounter, but hopefully this gives you a good broad overview of how the drainage tools work, and you can apply it to your drainage project that you're working on. And of course, if you ever have any questions or problems using the drainage tools in ORD, feel free to call CAD support and we will help you out.